Am I the antagonist for not crossing the street with my dog? I, a 35-year-old female, was walking my dog and pushing my 4-month-old son in his stroller just to get some fresh air. My husband Mike, a 39-year-old male, was with our other 3 kids holding down the fort. My dog is a mutt weighing around 90 pounds. According to his vet, he is a lab mix of some kind. He is incredibly sweet and patient with my kids, who are all under 7 years old, despite being around 11 years old himself. While I was headed back towards my house, I encountered a couple walking their smaller terrier dog on the same side of the street as me. The couple was about 2 to 3 houses away from me when they repeatedly yelled, "Cross!" at me. At the time, my house was situated between me and the couple. I stopped for a moment and assumed they were alerting me that they were going to cross the street. Thus, I continued walking with my dog and stroller towards home. Since I was on the same side of the street as my house and had my infant son with me, I had no intention of crossing the street. The man started being somewhat aggressive with me while I tried to make my way towards my house. He continued to shout "cross" repeatedly. I attempted to explain that he was blocking my path to my house and I simply wanted to get my baby home. However, he replied that he didn't care and it wasn't his problem. At this point, my husband had come outside due to the man's loudness and told the man to leave me alone. The man turned to my husband and began screaming in his face. Frankly, I was scared of this man. He kept complaining that I had no manners, and since I had a larger dog, it was my responsibility to cross the street when encountering others with smaller dogs. My dog has never displayed aggression towards anyone or any other dogs. As I mentioned before, we have 4 kids under 7 and 2 cats, and he gets along well with all of them. Throughout the entire ordeal, my dog remained seated next to me and the baby, behaving calmly. He was leashed, unlike their dog, while their little dog ran around barking incessantly. Mike told them to leave our property, as the man had gotten in his face and trespassed into our front yard, in order to allow me, my dog, and our baby to return home. At this point, my next-door neighbor, whose house I had stopped in front of during the confrontation, also came out. He essentially escorted the 3 of us up my driveway so I could bring my crying baby inside, disturbed by all the noise. Before the man and his wife finally departed, he insulted me by calling me an asshole for not adhering to common courtesy by crossing the street. I don't believe I should have been expected to do so, as I was heading home and only a few houses away when this whole situation began. Was I in the wrong here? You were simply walking your dog and pushing your baby in a stroller, minding your own business. The couple was being aggressive and unreasonable, demanding that you cross the street when it was not necessary or convenient for you to do so. It is not your responsibility to accommodate others just because you have a larger dog. Your dog was well behaved throughout the ordeal, while their smaller dog was the one causing a ruckus. Your husband did the right thing by defending you and asking the couple to leave. Overall, it seems like the other couple was completely in the wrong and you should not be blamed for their irrational behavior. Am I the antagonist for not properly matching a wedding gift? My husband and I got married recently in a small family-only event. We only invited our closest friends, the maid of honor and best man. We had around 60 guests in total. Out of my parents' siblings, only one has children. My uncle, who has precisely 6 kids. We often joke that he compensated for my aunts not having any children. I am the only child in my family. It turns out, I am only close to one of my cousins, and I really wanted him and his girlfriend, whom I'm also close to be there. However, when I brought this up to my mom, she insisted that if we invite him, we must invite his siblings as well for the sake of fairness. Although it wasn't our initial plan, we agreed and added an extra 5 guests. We sent out invitations and received positive RSVPs from everyone, including the 4 significant others of my cousins. It was annoying because we purposely didn't invite our own friends to keep the numbers down, but I didn't want any drama, so I accepted it. The wedding turned out to be magical and went smoothly without any issues. My uncle's table was the only one that didn't participate in any activities, but that was their decision. The next day, we opened all the gifts and found a $1,000 check from the Their Name family. It was a generous amount, but it was a group gift and wasn't signed individually. Nonetheless, we appreciated all the gifts. Interestingly, the cousin I'm close to secretly gave us a separate gift with a card. Since then, 3 of my cousins have gotten engaged. The first wedding was planned in a short amount of time, only a few months. We were invited to the cocktail hour, but not the ceremony or dinner. Again, I was fine with it. It was only a 2-hour drive, so we went, said hello to everyone, and left early since we didn't know many people there. We gave them a $250 gift. Yesterday, I was taken aback when my newlywed cousin called me. Initially, I thought she was calling to say thank you instead of sending a formal note. But she called to berate me, calling me a selfish person for giving her a fraction of what she gave me as a gift. I was confused because the gift we received was technically from 7 couples, and her name wasn't even on the card. I tried to explain this since we couldn't afford to give $1,000 as a gift for multiple weddings. However, she hung up on me. Since then, she has been sending me numerous articles about etiquette and how you should match the value of the wedding gift you receive. Curious, I asked my parents how much they had given, and it turned out they also gave $1,000 as a gift from our family, specifically mentioning my husband and me on the card. This left me frustrated because if a family gift is considered appropriate, then the $250 we gave would be an extra, and the amount would be matched. I didn't want to start an argument, so I haven't mentioned this to my cousin. Nevertheless, she and her siblings keep texting me, accusing me of being greedy. We have even been uninvited to the next cousin's wedding because they don't want to waste money on people like us who don't reciprocate. Are we truly the ones in the wrong here? You and your husband had a small wedding with only close family and a couple of friends. Even though you ended up inviting more people than you initially planned due to your cousin, you accepted it to avoid drama. The gift you received from your cousin's family was a group gift without individual signatures, so it's understandable that you did not match the amount given. It is unfair and unreasonable for your cousin to berate you for not matching their gift when they did not individually sign the card, and your parents actually gave a separate gift specifically from your family. It seems like your cousin and her siblings are being greedy and entitled, especially when they uninvited you to the next family wedding because of their expectations for reciprocal gifts. Overall, it is important to remember that wedding gifts should be given from the heart and not based on a specific monetary expectation. It is unfortunate that your cousin is causing unnecessary drama and trying to guilt trip you. Am I the antagonist for uninviting my mom to my wedding? My fiancé and I have been planning our wedding for over a year now, and I've been trying to keep my mom informed about all the details. We live in Pennsylvania and our families are in Kansas. We made the decision to have the wedding in Kansas to make it easier for everyone to attend. Due to this choice, my mom and future mother-in-law have been helping us with the planning. When I asked my mom if she wanted to visit the venue, she declined due to her dislike of driving in Kansas City. I reassured her that it was okay and suggested that my future mother-in-law could go instead. The tour went well and we found a wonderful venue. A few months later, my mom called and asked why she wasn't invited to the cake tasting. I was confused because we hadn't scheduled a tasting yet, but she didn't believe me. We had discussed our preferences for the cake, but we simply hadn't gotten around to setting up the tasting. To make amends, I scheduled a cake tasting and provided her with a list of cake and frosting combinations we wanted to try. However, a few weeks before the tasting, I came out as non-binary to my fiancé. We wanted to ensure I felt comfortable with the language used during the ceremony. On the day of the tasting, my mom declined because she felt overwhelmed by the news and didn't feel up to being around people. I expressed my disappointment, as I had planned the tasting specifically for her, but I asked my future mother-in-law to attend instead. A month later, she called and inquired about my wedding dress. I'd already chosen the dress shortly after getting engaged, as I knew it was the perfect one. However, I had to make alterations to it. My mom expressed concern that it wouldn't fit, which triggered her tendency to comment on my weight. I reassured her that there was no need to worry and that I felt comfortable in my appearance. Although I let it go, I reminded her not to be concerned. Last week, she called in a state of anger under the false assumption that my fiancé and I secretly got married in a courthouse in Pennsylvania without her. I quickly corrected her misunderstanding, but she went on a rant about feeling excluded from the wedding and replaced by my future mother-in-law. This led to a huge argument because I had no idea where she was getting these ideas from. Eventually, I told her she didn't need to attend the wedding if it was causing her so much distress. She reacted angrily, accusing me of not loving her. I explained that I had been attempting to involve her, but she had been causing unnecessary problems. Am I the asshole in this situation? Based on the given information, it does not appear that you are the asshole in this situation. You have continuously tried to involve your mother in the wedding planning process and have made efforts to accommodate her. The misunderstandings and conflicts seem to stem from miscommunication on her part or her own personal issues, such as commenting on your weight or feeling upset about your non-binary identity. It is understandable that you would feel hurt and frustrated by her constant assumptions and criticisms. Ultimately, you are not obligated to continue trying to involve her if she consistently causes unnecessary problems and distress. Would I be the antagonist if I don't go to the wedding? I am a 30-year-old female, and when I was pregnant, my 23-year-old sister was very persistent and insistent on putting together the baby's crib for me. However, the crib ended up sitting in my entryway for a whole month with no estimated time of arrival for her help. So I took matters into my own hands and assembled the crib myself. My sister became very angry about this and made a big fuss. I called her to express that her reaction bothered me. While I'm open to her assistance, I requested that she not treat me like a child. Unfortunately, she got even angrier, called me a name she knows I dislike, and abruptly hung up. The next day, I tried reaching out to resolve the issue, but she neither answered nor returned my call. I decided not to dwell on it. The few times we encountered each other afterward, I didn't bring up the issue and remained civil with her. However, when I finally had my baby, she completely ignored me. There was no call, no text, and no congratulations. I didn't hear from her for months. It was 9 months later when we found ourselves in the same room again, and by then, I had no interest in pretending that everything was fine just because others were watching. I didn't utter a word to her. Now fast forward to the present. I recently discovered that she's pregnant with a girl and engaged. Ironically, she didn't inform me about these developments. It was our father who texted me the news. Despite this, I decided to call her and congratulate her. However, that's when I discovered that she had blocked my number. Honestly, I am no longer invested in this messy situation. Even I recognize the absurdity of it all. It started with a blow-up over a crib for my child. A friend mentioned that my sister was likely hurt because she wanted to assist me, but I declined her offer. This hurt supposedly prevented her from contacting me after the baby was born. She insists that I must be the bigger person. Otherwise, I will not be involved in my niece's life. At this point, I accept that. My family has always been toxic, but nobody ever saw it because I was always cast as the problem. If it weren't for me, nothing would ever go wrong. It's the same story happening now, too. There would have been no issue if I had simply allowed her to help me and assemble the crib. I'm exhausted from it all. I know they, my sister and stepmom, will invite me to the wedding because my father will ensure it. Nevertheless, I refuse to attend without a sincere apology from my sister. Despite being the innocent party, I attempted to make amends only to be met with complete silence. I have no interest in going to the wedding solely to maintain the facade of a happy family. However, if I don't go, it will only provide more ammunition for her claims that I'm resentful, unable to let go. And the problem. Would I be the asshole if I decide to discard the wedding invitation? Your sister was pushy and insistent about helping you with the crib, but then didn't follow through. When you confronted her about her reaction, she responded by calling you a name and hanging up on you. She then ghosted you for months after your baby was born. Despite your attempts to resolve the issue and congratulate her on her own pregnancy, she blocked your number and refused to communicate. You have every right to be frustrated and tired of this toxic dynamic within your family. If you feel that attending the wedding without a sincere apology would be hypocritical and detrimental to your well-being, then it is completely within your rights to decline the invitation. Your mental health and emotional well-being should take priority, even if it means your sister uses it as further ammunition against you. Ultimately, you deserve respect and genuine communication from your sister. And if that is not being reciprocated, you are not obligated to continue participating in this toxic cycle.